Hello friends, a big, loving, warm welcome to your very own channel, Ammu&You. As you all must be knowing, I am Ammu and I'm here with another beautiful story to narrate to all of you. This story is one of the traditional stories that they say, and it has been retold by Abigail Whitley. The name of the story is The Three Aunts. Let's hear the story from Abigail Whitley. Long, long ago, in a little cottage deep in the woods, there lived a poor man. His wife had died young, so he lived quite alone except for his daughter and made his living as best as he could from hunting in the woods. Now, father, said his daughter one day as she stirred the stew for supper. You know, I love you, but I've lived all my life in these woods and I've never seen anything beyond them. I'm old enough now to look after myself. Please let me go and see the world. I knew this day was going to come, her father sighed as he made up the fire under the cooking pot. It hasn't been much of a life for you. You can cook, but I couldn't teach any of the other skills young ladies should have. Who knows how you'll earn a living? Yet I can't keep you when you long to go. See the world with my blessing. And so the girl set off. She walked through the woods, following the rough track until the trees grew thin and small and gave way to sunlit meadows filled with buttercups. The path became broader now and ran between fields golden with whispering wheat almost ready for harvest. Soon it led to a village with trim little houses lining the road. The girl smiled to herself, delighted with everything she saw. At the edge of the village, she stopped short. There, surrounded by high railings and beautiful gardens, was a palace with smooth white walls and polished windows that glinted in the sunshine. As the girl stood there gazing, a man came to the gate. "You'll be here for the kitchen maid job?" he said, and opened the gate without waiting for a reply. Before the girl knew what was happening, she was following him around to the side of the palace and into the kitchen. A brisk, red-cheeked cook put the girl to work right away. "We're short-handed today," she explained, "so you must do the best you can." The girl worked hard, chopping and pounding, stewing and frying, just as her father had taught her. Then she washed the dishes. "I wish we had more workers like you," the cook said, wiping her hands on her apron at the end of the day. "You get more done in a day than some do in weeks." The other maids stood in a cluster, eyeing the girl angrily and whispering. "I suppose she thinks she can do anything now," said the dairy maid. "I'd like to see her try," adding the laundry maid. "We'll show her," they agreed, and crept off to spread the word. By the following morning, the girl was the talk of the palace. "I've heard she can scrub out a greasy cauldron in 5 minutes," whispered the footman to the butler. "I've heard she can sew a shirt in an hour," muttered the butler to the lady in waiting. "I've heard she can spin a pound of flax into fine linen thread in a day," murmured the lady in waiting to the queen. The queen clapped her hands with delight. She loved spinning, weaving, and sewing. "Bring the girl here. I must meet her," she cried. The girl was shown into the queen's grand drawing room. She stood there trembling, wondering what terrible thing she had done to be sent for by the queen herself. But the queen smiled and patted her hand. "Everyone says you can spin a pound of flax into fine linen thread in a day, my dear," she cooed. "You must show me. I can't wait to see how you do it so fast." Your Majesty," mumbled the girl, turning very pink. "I can't. I'm not sure." "There, there," said the queen kindly. "You're shy, I can see. You'll have a room all to yourself. No one will be watching. I'll arrange it all." "But, Your Majesty," the girl tried again, turning red. I don't know. "You too modest, my dear," the queen laughed. "Now it's all settled. You'll have till this time tomorrow. We won't rush you, but if you can't manage it by then, well, there's no room in this palace for liars." "Show her to her room," said the queen. The girl followed a lady in waiting to a room. It was empty except for a chair, a bed, and a spinning wheel with a pound of flax piled next to it on the floor. As the door closed behind her, the girl burst into tears. She had no idea what to do. She had never even seen a spinning wheel before, let alone used one. "Why are you crying, my dear?" came a scratchy voice. The girl looked around and saw a very strange old woman opening the door. Her nose was longer and more bent than any the girl had ever seen, but her eyes twinkled kindly. "I'm in such trouble," sobbed the girl, and poured out the whole story. The old woman smiled brightly. "It's your lucky day," she said. "I can help you. In fact, I'll spin the flax for you." The girl stopped crying in astonishment. "Thank you," she replied, "but how can I ever make it up to you?" "Well," said the old woman, sitting down at the spinning wheel and setting to work, "I will ask you just one thing. On the happiest day of your life, call me aunt." This seemed an odd request, but the girl was so grateful to the strange old woman, and she couldn't see how it could do any harm. "It's the least I can do," she replied. "Good girl," cried the old woman. "Now you can just have a nap. There's nothing more for you to do." When the girl woke, it was morning. The old woman had gone, but there on the chair was a big skein of fine linen thread. Just then the queen looked in. "You finished?" she said, admiring the thread. "You really are as good as they say," she added. "Speaking of which, I've heard the linen cloth in just a day, making it so smooth, so quick, and so clever. It really is amazing. Do show me how you did it." "There's a dear." Once again, the girl tried to explain that she couldn't, but it was no good. The queen was quite determined. "Here you are," said the queen triumphantly, as two servants carried a massive loom into the room. "You'd better start right away weaving this yarn." Once again, as the door shut, the girl felt tears trickling down her face. But right then, she heard a strange, squeaky voice saying, "What is the matter, my dear?" Another old woman was looking in at the door. Her shoulders were hunched up around her ears and her back was bent, but she was smiling merrily. The girl told all her troubles. "Don't you worry, dear," said the woman kindly. "I'll do it for you." "How can I ever repay you?" asked the girl. "There is something. On the happiest day of your life, call me aunt." The girl was surprised to receive this request again, but she agreed because she didn't have any other option. The girl woke to find a smooth length of cloth neatly folded on the chair in the morning. Once again, the queen was delighted. "Well, I almost believe those people who've told me you can sew all that cloth into shirts in just one day, but you must show me." The girl found herself alone in the room once more with needles, pins, and scissors. And again she started to cry when a croaky voice said, "What seems to be the matter, my dear?" This time the girl was no longer surprised to see an unusual old woman standing in the doorway. This one had huge bulging eyes, but she was nodding sympathetically. So of course the girl told her the problem. "Don't fret, my dear. I can sew the shirts for you. But please, on the happiest day of your life, call me aunt." The girl agreed right away and drifted off to sleep while the old woman snipped, pinned, and stitched the cloth. Next morning, the girl found a pile of elegant shirts on the chair. She wondered what further task the queen might set her now, but she needn't have worried. "You well and truly proved your skill," the queen cooed happily as she examined the shirts. "I'd be proud to have you as my daughter. You'd be able to keep the whole family in thread, cloth, and clothing with no help at all. There was a gentle cough, and a handsome young man edged around the queen. "Do you mean that, mother?" he asked. "Because if so, I have an important question to ask." The prince sank to one knee in front of the girl. "Will you marry me?" he said. In just a few weeks, the wedding day arrived. The girl was dizzy with happiness, for the prince proved to be as kind as he was handsome. Her only worry was how she would manage to do all the spinning, weaving, and sewing the queen had in mind for her. But she tried to forget about that. After all, it was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Just as all the guests were sitting down to the wedding feast, the girl heard a familiar scratchy voice. There was the first old woman, her long nose looming across the table. "Well, my dear," the girl remembered. "Welcome, aunt," she said promptly. The prince looked surprised, but he quickly made room for the old woman at the table. "Any aunt of my beloved bride's is welcome at her wedding," he said. Just as everyone was starting to eat, the girl heard two more voices, one squeaky and one croaky. "Well, my dear," said the second old woman, her hunched back casting a vast shadow on the wall. The third old woman's bulging eyes glittered in the candlelight. "Welcome, aunts," said the girl. Once again, the prince made a space for them to sit down. He chatted politely to the three aunts, but all the while his eyes kept flicking from them to his bride. At last, he couldn't hold his thoughts in any longer. "My dear ladies, you are all most welcome, but I must admit that if I had not heard my bride call you her aunts, I wouldn't have recognized you. You don't exactly," he coughed politely, "look like her." "Well," said the first old woman, "I looked just like your beautiful bride when I was her age. But since then, I've spent so many hours nodding over my spinning wheel that my nose has just grown and grown." "Yes," chipped in the second old woman, "and in my case, it was hunching over my loom all day that turned my back from straight to bent." "And with me," added the third, "it was straining my poor eyes over fine needlework that made them bulge so." "Well," the prince declared, "I'll make sure my dearest bride will never suffer in that way. From now on, she never need to touch a spinning wheel, loom, or needle again." The girl sighed blissfully. Now it truly was the happiest day of her life. And what a real happy day it was. Such a lovely story, children, no? The girl got married to the handsome prince, and she had just set out to see the world. And what a beautiful, lovely world she got to see, isn't it? Let me know how you liked the story. You know, traditional stories were all about fairies, witches, and strange creatures having magical powers, and they seem to be so very interesting because they were true or not is not the question. What matters is that we can really stretch our imagination to visualize those characters. And that is what that makes our imagination vivid and crazy. We can imagine anything. And that is the role of traditional stories in our lives. Let me know how you like this story. Do you also like stories? My young friends, my old friends, adult friends, everyone. Write about it to me. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for all your love and support. Wait for me again till I come soon with another story to narrate to you. Till then, keep reading, keep listening to my stories, like, share, subscribe, and spread this word of storytelling through Ammu&You to as many people as you can. Bye-bye. Take care. Love you.